Hi guys, this is Hirosaki. This story is all about what if Naruto was born a low-class devil before the Great Devil War. Realizing how the devil class system subjugated devils of lower class, Naruto will represent his origins as he rises and expose the corrupted system that he lives in, and he'll do it without the high-class devils even realizing it. Before we start, kindly like and subscribe to this channel, and look over the description box for the author of this amazing storyline. Welcome aboard. Chapter 16, Stand Alone. Kuo Park. Vala was standing strong with a large smirk on his face as he stared at his competition that was Naruto Bael. He was itching with excitement and his blood started to pump even more when his eyes met Naruto's deep blue eyes. The Bael had an emotionless look, but it still put fear into Vala, which only fueled his excitement even more. Vala, said a deep voice from within Vala's mind. A picture of a large, menacing, white dragon with golden horns and blue eyes appeared in Vala's mental. Be careful of this person. I'm getting a very ominous vibe from him. I'm getting that same feeling as well, which means I know that he's strong. He's something that I've never experienced, and it's going to be something nobody in the world can copy, said the teenager. Understandable, but I want you to think with your mind instead of your lust for battle during this fight, said Albion. He's interesting, don't underestimate him. Agreed, said Vala silently while summoning up his magic. However, before he could attack, Naruto interrupted him. Before we begin, can we change the scenery? I don't want to battle in a place where humans come to all the time. I know a spot outside of the city where we can battle to our heart's content. Are you fine with this? Vala speculated over the idea of changing location for a small while, but he nodded his head in agreement after not finding anything wrong with moving the fight elsewhere. Good. Follow me, said Naruto as he disappeared into a magic seal he created. Sensing out where he was going, Vala slowly followed the blonde Bael to their battleground. Outskirts of Kuo. Vala appeared from his magic seal, and was welcomed to the sight of Naruto using his spell tags to create a barrier around them. His eyes glowed red for a few seconds and his tags flew to life, flying in random direction out around them. A large blue dome surrounded them afterwards, encasing and protecting the outside world from their fight. That should do it, Naruto muttered with a sigh. His instincts quickly alarmed him to move, and he listened, summoning his wings and flying away from where he once was. Vala slammed down where Naruto once was with blue wings of energy sprouting out of his back. The earth below him had a deep fissure, a display of force that Vala put into his landing. I'm sick of waiting. Let's battle now, shouted the young Lucifer. Naruto narrowed his eyes, looking down at Vala before calling upon his magic. A red hue surrounded the Bael as he recalled his wings, his body dropping to the ground. The moment Naruto hit the ground, he rocketed towards Vala. The teenager smirked and propelled himself towards Naruto with equal speed, ready to start off the fight. Naruto Bael, full-blood high-class devil, king. Versus Vala Lucifer, half-human/half-devil. Vala shot his right arm through the air and towards Naruto once they were close enough to where it would connect. However, Naruto summoned his wings again and quickly spun under and past Vala. Vala looked back to Naruto once he landed on the ground, but the sound of something fizzling in front of his caught his attention. He turned around to see one of Naruto's spell tags was smoking before it exploded right in his face. Naruto calmly watched the explosion behind him, waiting for some type of reaction from Vala. His patience was awarded when he saw Vala fly out of the smokescreen with a magic seal he used as a barrier from the explosion, protecting him from the majority of the blast. Naruto crafted a ball of his power of destruction in his hand and threw it at Vala. The boy recalled his barrier and held his hand out to the approaching orb, Divide. Naruto's eyes widened with surprise and curiosity as he saw his ball, which was already small, half in size and power. Vala slapped the rest of the orb away, protecting him from being destroyed past an atomic level, as the orb exploded somewhere behind him. Divine dividing. Naruto muttered to himself as he looked up at Vala's wings. Vala stretched out his wings, showing them off to Naruto. That's right. I'm sure you know how it works, so I'm not going to explain it to you. Just be wary around me. He yelled as he flew down at Naruto. Quickly reacting, Naruto flew away from Vala while reaching into his pockets for something. Vala raised an eyebrow in curiosity as he watched Naruto pull out more spell tags. There were 5 in all, and Naruto wrapped them around his left arm while he was still being chased by him. They locked themselves around Naruto's arm with the help of some magic, and a blue hue of magic coated Naruto's body. What is he doing? Thought Vala suspiciously, but he didn't give Naruto any more time as he boosted his speed to the max, blitzing in front of Naruto and kicking him viciously down on his back while shouting, "Divide!" Naruto gritted his teeth at the pain of Vala's strength, but focused more on his spell tags than the pain coursing through him. One of his spell tags on his arm started to crinkle, as it lost magic before falling off of his arm. Naruto landed on his feet and jumped back as Vala slammed to where he once was again. While he was glad his attack landed, Vala was confused on why he didn't receive as much magic as he thought he would. He looked at the falling spell tag that was once attached to Naruto's arm, and then back at Naruto. The blue aura that surrounded him seemed weaker than what it once was. A barrier. Vala connected the dots and gritted his teeth in annoyance. You're protecting yourself from my dividing. Well, of course, said Naruto as if he was talking about the weather. While I can walk by myself, when it comes to fast-paced fighting, I'm going to need some magic to help me move around. I'm going to need all the magic I can spare in order to defeat you. So, he was injured in the past. That's why he was in that wheelchair when we met him. Explained Albion in Vala's mind. So, you're weak. I have to say, I'm a little disappointed in that revelation. I thought that you would be stronger, and that the wheelchair thing was really an act, said Vala. Please, Naruto waved off Vala's jab. I can tell that if I play my cards right, I can leave this fight with minimum damage done to my body. We'll see then. I'll put that to the test with my balance breaker, yelled Vala as a blue light encased his body. White armor with blue jewels grew from the light, giving Vala a fearsome look that would scare high-class devils. Magic was oozing from Vala's armor as it brightened the area up with a glow similar to the sun. Let's go, Naruto Bael, he shouted as he jetted towards Naruto with speeds even greater than before. Naruto tensed up and quickly titled his head to the side, dodging a punch that would have surely cracked his head open. Vala's next move was to knee Naruto in the stomach, but Naruto turned sideways and palmed Vala's chest area with a Padi-powered hand. Vala was pushed back slightly, but it didn't harm him as much as Naruto wanted it to. The young teen quickly countered with a tackle at Naruto, but he jumped over the White Dragon Emperor and shot a beam of power of destruction down at him. Too weak, yelled Vala as he used one hand to block the attack, while flying up to Naruto's position in the air. He flew next to Naruto with a kick to the stomach prepared for him, but Naruto's reaction time was too great, allowing him to spin out of the way and counter with a kick to the side of Vala's head that rang bells in his mind. Damn it, growled Vala as he held his head because he was disoriented for a while. For a guy in a wheelchair, you sure can kick. Naruto didn't respond with words, rather, he coated his fingers with his power of destruction and pointed his right hand at Vala. A barrage of red needles headed straight towards Vala, causing him to ignore his pain in favor of dodging the needle storm coming from Naruto. Half dimension, shouted Vala as he was still dodging the needles. They all instantly halved in power and Vala took advantage of that, taking a sharp turn towards Naruto and his needle storm. The needles bounced off of Vala's armor harmlessly, allowing him to approach Naruto safely for combat. Take this, he yelled as he engaged Naruto in a rigorous combination of punches and kicks. Naruto, being agile, was able to dodge them all and counter whenever he could, summoning a pair of red arms from his back to block some of the punches. Divide. 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 Every time one of Naruto's arms touched him, he would divide and absorb their power instantly. He noticed that the power that he was absorbing wasn't much, but he was satisfied with the fact that he was weakening Naruto nevertheless. A quick burst of speed caught Vala off guard when Naruto used his red arms to push Vala off of him, and used his real arms to conjure up a large orb of his power of destruction to shoot at Vala. Vala grinned and held out both of his hands to block the orb. Divide. He shouted, and Naruto's attack shrunk in size as Vala absorbed the ball, but he suddenly coughed up blood, and his stance weakened as his body felt like he was burning. Using all the strength he had, Vala ignored the burning pain coursing throughout him and swiped through it with ease. He couldn't celebrate his small victory, because Naruto flew right into Vala with a kick to Vala's midsection. A combination of spit and blood shot out of Vala's mouth as he rocketed down into the ground in a massive crater. Gah! Vala groaned as he held his stomach. His armor had a massive crack in it, all because of Naruto's kick. He was sure that his back was also messed up from the drop down to the ground. He flinched when he recalled his armor because his body was still burning. What's going on with my body? I fought people similar to your style of absorbing magical attacks. Vala looked up to Naruto, who was still in the air. He had his arms folded over his stomach and was looking down at him as if Vala was insignificant to him, angering him even more. I was blessed being born in the Bael clan, which gave me my power of destruction. You'll have to watch how you absorb it because it can literally kill you from the inside out if you take it lightly. He's right, said Albion as divine dividing's wings sprouted from Vala's back. A lot of blue and, surprisingly to Vala, red glitter flowed from out of Vala's wings, clearing out his system of Naruto's power of destruction. Absorbing pure power of destruction is a very risky task. Your body was literally being destroyed from the inside out because you absorbed too much of that deadly ability at one time. That's never happened before, said Vala with a groan as he pushed a boulder off of him, but I think I can adjust to it. The only way you can continue to absorb his power safely is if you were to clean it out of your system the instant you absorb it. However, if his power of destructions remains in your body for a certain period of time, it's over, explained Albion. Vala grinned with glee as he summoned his balance breaker once more. This fight is even more interesting than I thought it would be, he yelled as he focused back at Naruto. I'm ready whenever you are. Naruto smirked a little at Vala while dropping his arms to his sides. You really are strong. Most people would be on their ass from absorbing that much of my power of destruction. I guess being able to release that energy is the reason why you're still able to move, but it doesn't matter. You're my stress ball right now, and I don't care how much force I exert. Naruto dropped to the ground not too far from Vala. Come. Summoning a massive amount of energy that he didn't even know he had, Vala disappeared from sight. He appeared behind Naruto with his arm cocked back, intending to deliver a devastating blow to his back. Naruto quickly twisted his body and summoned a magic seal as a barrier, blocking the blow. He used his shield to push Vala away from him, and then shot 5 red missiles from each of his fingers on his right hand. Vala slapped them all way before heading right towards Naruto. He blocked another ball of destruction Naruto made and countered with a right elbow to the face. Naruto ducked under the hit and covered his hands with his power of destruction, giving the illusion as if he had red claws. Jerking upwards, Naruto scrapped into Vala's new armor, slashing through the metal and tearing into his skin. Gotcha. Naruto wasn't prepared for Vala to recover so quickly by grabbing both of his hands and stomping on his right root. Divide. Divide. Div. A multicolored beam of magic shot Vala right his injured chest. Naruto had quickly made a magic seal from his open mouth and used the force of the shot to release himself from Vala's grasp. He jumped away to create some space between the two. He noticed that 2 of his spell tags that were attached to his arms were crinkled and fluttered off his arm. Damn it, he got me. Fucking bastard. Naruto looked up to see that shot a blast that was mostly blue, but had a hue of red energy surrounding it as well. Thinking quickly, Naruto summoned multiple magic barriers to protect him from the heavy blast that broke through the first barrier like it was nothing, but was halted by his second barrier. His attacks are getting stronger. Naruto thought to himself as he poured more magic to his shields, making them stronger, and he's using my power of destruction against me, fueling his attacks with it to make them stronger, and to avoid getting killed by holding it for too long. He's good. Have to mention. Suddenly, all of Naruto's super-powered barriers halved in size, and then again. Vala appeared from his magical blast, flying right through it and all of Naruto's weakened barriers. Eat this. Naruto's body hunched over with a sickening crunch as Vala's fist dug into his stomach. Divide. Was the last thing the Bael heard as his body flew away from all of the force of the blow. His body sprung around wildly in the air with no self-control. His body flew so far that it hit the barrier protecting the outside world from their fight. Blood shot out of Naruto's mouth as his body rebounded off of his barrier and to the ground below. His instincts cried for him to move, but he was paralyzed from all the pain coursing within him. Vala flew down next to Naruto's body and kicked him under his chin. Vala caught Naruto by his neck before he could fly off and held him against the barrier harshly. Finally got you. Naruto couldn't reply as he felt like his windpipe was getting crushed by Vala's hand. Seems like you only have 2 more of those little tags that protect you from my dividing. Say goodbye to those divide. Divide. Both of Naruto's remaining spell tags crinkled up from Vala's division and fell from Naruto's arm. The blue hue that was once protecting Naruto was now gone, exposing him to any more of Vala's division. I guess this is how you go out, huh? You were talking all big before the fight. Now look at you. I thought that this fight would last longer than this. Naruto gritted his teeth and tried to pry Vala's hand off of his neck, but he was too weak to do so. Damn it. My stamina. I can't last any more of this. Plan B. You were tough to figure out, but once I did, you were nothing compared to my sacred gear. Vala said with arrogance, maybe one day when you heal of your injuries, you can face someone like me. You talk, to move much. Naruto gasped out. Vala growled at Naruto before deciding to put the final nail in the coffin. You won't win if I half all of your magic. Say goodbye. Divide. However, before Vala could divide all of Naruto's power, a massive amount of pod flooded from Naruto's body, encasing him in a red cocoon. Vala instantly tried to pry his hand off of Naruto, but it was too late as he already divided and absorbed Naruto's pod. Ah! Vala shouted as he released Naruto and jumped away from him. Vala's balance breaker armor was slowly turning red and a massive dust cloud of red glitter was shooting out of his wings, trying to clear out all of the power of destruction Naruto sent into Vala. Arr! Damn it! You fucking arrghh! Fucking bastard! Naruto dropped to the ground with a cough as he rubbed his throat. He recalled his pod as he tried to gather his breath. That got him, he. Naruto said with a weak laugh as he watched as Vala suffer from overloading. Vala. Can you hear me? Albion shouted from within the screaming boy's mind, you need to shoot everything out of your system now. You can't handle all of his power within you. Your wings aren't doing enough, so you need to do it yourself. I'm going to kill you. Shouted Vala as he took off his helmet, revealing that half his face was red and both of his eyes were bloodshot. I'm going to kill you, Naruto Bael. Vala was surrounded dozens of magic seals, all pointed in every direction. They all glowed with life as a mixture of red and blue orbs were charging, growing bigger and bigger by the second. Shit! Thought Naruto as he knew that he had to move or be obliterated by a mixture of Vala's and his own power. Concentrating heavily, Naruto closed his eyes and focused on his heart rate. I'll probably be in bed for the next 2 weeks after this, but I don't have a choice. Naruto concentrated on his heart rate, feeling all of his blood flow within him. He took in a deep breath before speeding up his heartbeat, the same technique that he learned while in his seal, and the one he showed his peerage members when he was freed. His veins started to throb under his skin as blood was overflowing his body, his muscles flexing with more strength. Naruto opened his bloodshot eyes and stood back up from the ground. I can't stretch this fight out anymore. If things keep on moving as they are, I'll faint of exhaustion. A few more minutes to end this. Eha! Vala yelled his loudest battle cry as he released everything he had. All of the magic seals released massive amounts of magic, all shooting in different directions, tearing through the ground and nearby forest like it was wet paper. A wave of Vala's deadly magic was headed at Naruto, but he looked at the deadly flood like it was nothing as he coated himself in his pod, shaping it into a new form, God. He muttered quiet before being caught by Vala's blast. The massive explosion lasted for about 30 seconds, blinding a tired Vala for a while. After it was done, he fell to his knees and recalled his balance breaker, too tired to sustain the form for the moment. Damn it. He said while placing his hand on his head. His head was burning as if he had a fever, but it wasn't anything close to how he felt not too long ago. Was that all of it, Albion? You're safe now. Most of that poisonous magic is out of your body. Confirmed Vala's partner, focus on where he is now. I don't know if that killed him, but it had to injure him in some form since he looked like he was going to pass out before he surprised you with his last move. Vala replied to his partner with a grunt and stood up to find where Naruto was. The area around him was destroyed, but he couldn't see everything since there was a massive smoke screen blocking his vision from everything. Stop hiding and come out! Shouted Vala into the distance. He flinched and placed a hand on his injured stomach as it throbbed in pain. It wasn't bleeding as much as it once was, but he was surely going to have to heal the wound soon or else he would die of blood loss. Duba, was what Vala heard coming from his right side. He turned and narrowed his eyes when he saw a red glow through the smoke screen. What on earth is that? He mumbled to himself as prepared for the worst. Duba. A loud thunderclap was heard throughout the battlefield, and all of the dust was blown away from strong winds coming from the now revealed red robot-like armor. Both of its hands were clasped together, so Vala assumed that the force from the robotic-like thing's clap scattered the smoke screen away. The robotic-like red armor was around 6 feet in height. It didn't have any major features to it other than stubby shoulders that were linked to massive, gauntlet-like arms. Its legs were short and thin, but it had large feet that looked heavy. On its stomach, the word Gods was written in blood red, even darker than the red that covered the armor. For its head, there was a transparent, red dome that encased Naruto Bael, who was staring back at the Lucifer with blue eyes that were glowing red around them. Duba! Shouted the again with a red veil of power erupting from its body. Vala, spoke Albion from Vala's mind, that armor is pure power of destruction. Don't try to absorb any of its power. You can't handle another power overload from something like that because it will literally kill you from all of that power of destruction clumped into one. I don't know how that man is doing it, but he's created the perfect defense for someone like you. No more dividing from here on out. You really are something special, huh? Said Vala with a weak grin as he stared down Naruto inside of his golem, pushing me to these limits, even canceling out my go-to move of division. I'm glad that I got to fight you today. And just to think that this isn't even your full power. I can't wait to see you at your full strength. You talk too much. Said Naruto from within his golem of destruction. His pod was literally pouring from his golem, melting the ground he was standing on like it was nothing. I told you that I've fought people of your style. I have experiences that you'll never come to understand because you're dying here tonight. I don't like the fact on how much you've damaged my body. I'll be in bed for weeks from this battle. Vala chuckled at Naruto's statement, sorry, I couldn't help myself. You're just too interesting to leave alone. This is a battle I'll never forget. He summoned his balance breaker again, covering up all of his previous injuries underneath its armor. I will be leaving this fight. You're the one that's going to die here. This is a death match, remember? You think you're going to win with the state you're in? I can tell that you're running out of gas, probably your past injuries catching up to you. These next few minutes are all you have left. I've always hated hypocrisy. Laughed Naruto, you're not too far from fainting yourself. I'll be sure to finish you off soon. Naruto gained a deadly look in his eyes as his golem crouched down, as if he was about to sprint in Vala's direction. Naruto's ki filled the area and it made Vala shiver. The stench of death was evident in the air, and it was all coming from Naruto, as he prepared for the final moments of their fight. I'll show you how strong I am, that my experience far exceeds yours. Juba. Vala's eyes widened in shock when he heard Naruto's golem behind him. He couldn't even react when it dropped a double-handed sledgehammer down onto his head, before kicking him away with the force to destroy a skyscraper. Gia. Vala yelled from within his armor as his body roughly broke through the ground. He didn't have any time to rest when Naruto's god appeared right over him with its arm cocked back and ready to deliver more pain. Vala countered by summoning a lot of magic barriers in between the two, but they proved to be nothing against Naruto's golem as he smashed through each barrier without a problem. Shit! Vala shouted as he blasted through the rocks that was encasing him and quickly flew from the scene. Naruto's god was right behind him, however, flying through the air and shooting a multitude of red missiles at him. Vala twisted and turned throughout the air, dodging them all with ease, but he knew he couldn't keep it up forever, because his stamina was steadily falling at a fast pace. Vala, don't win this fight with power, win it with endurance. Shouted Albion as he watched his partner take a power missile to the chest. The explosion cracked his armor immensely, but he didn't have any time to recover it. He's sick. He can't keep up with you if you keep running away from him. Remember that he wants to kill you, and he will do so if you give him the opportunity. I'm not running away from anybody. Shouted Vala as he took a sharp U-turn and headed straight for Naruto. Stupidity. Mumbled Naruto as he dodged a kick aimed for his midsection. He grabbed Vala's arm and slammed him down into the ground, creating a large crater, before conjuring up a massive ball of destruction and throwing it down at him. Naruto even followed up with flying down into the ball, intending on crushing Vala with the weight of his fall. No. This isn't how I die. The young Lucifer screamed as he shot a large, blue beam of magic at Naruto and his approaching attack. It held it off for a few seconds, but Naruto rocketed through his own attack and through Vala's, crashing right into Vala with a power of destruction enhanced tackle. A massive explosion of red followed, destroying the ground and leaving a massive crater of nothingness. Vala and Naruto were both at the bottom of the pit, but Vala's balance breaker was heavily damaged, broken everywhere, while Naruto was safely protected inside of his god that looked good as new. Vala's helmet was destroyed, revealing his face that was painted with injuries, dirt, and blood. He coughed up a mixture of spit and blood as he tried to push Naruto off of him, but the golem was too heavy for him to move on his own. Damn it! The Lucifer muttered as his arms were burning from overuse. You will die now. Vala's attention was turned back to Naruto. He could see Naruto's head through the transparent shield that was protecting him. This was all fun and games, but I need to leave now. This match has lasted longer than expected for me. Naruto, using his golem's arms, slowly pushed himself off of the smothered teenage, but his eyes widened in shock when he coughed up blood and his god was fluctuating. After a few seconds of struggling, Naruto's golem of destruction dissipated, and he landed right beside Vala in a coughing fit of spit and blood. Damn, no. Naruto said in between coughs. I've used up too much of my stamina. My body can't handle the strain anymore. Naruto turned his attention to Vala chuckling. His chuckling was growing in volume until it was a full, almost crazed, laugh. He calmed down after some time and watched as Naruto's coughing spell slowly decreased in intensity. You're an idiot. He mumbled to the blonde Bael. Naruto glared at Vala, but he ignored it, choosing to stare up at the night sky. Few have pushed me this far. I've enjoyed myself tonight. By the way you're speaking, you believe that this is over? Asked Naruto, wiping his bloody mouth with his tattered sleeve. If you have any more tricks, then please show them now. said Vala with a chuckle. I'm actually expecting you to have some type of backup plan. You seem like that type of person anyway. You'd be right, answered Naruto as his eyes glowed red. Vala's eyebrow rose with curiosity as he watched the barrier surrounding the duo slowly fizzle away. Naruto's spell tags that constructed the barrier came flying back to the blonde and attaching themselves to his right arm. The same blue hue from earlier appeared around Naruto before disappearing inside his body. He groaned as he pushed himself up from the ground, even though he had some trouble with all the pain flooding his system. Vala chuckled, not even worried that Naruto could move now. So you absorbed the magic from the barrier to help you move? That's not something you see every day. This battle is over, said Naruto as his wings fluttered from his back. He slowly flew up in the sky, making sure the distance between himself and Vala's body was safe. Naruto stretched his right arm at Vala and conjured up a ball of destruction. This should finish you. Heh, you're right about. Groaned Bael as he slowly forced himself back on his feet. He was clutching his chest, the same place where Naruto made a clawing post out of it. Well, go ahead. Finish the job. I can't move, but I do have some magic left in me. If you mess up, I will counterattack. Vala's calm face switched into a deadly glare at Naruto, and I will use that opportunity to kill you. Naruto matched Vala's glare with his own. I don't miss, he whispered as he sent his ball of destruction down at the waiting Vala. Vala was looking death in the eyes, but he wasn't worried at all. He summoned all of his remaining strength to jump out of the way, but halted when he saw something flashing out of the corner of his eye. A golden spear of light flew through the air at amazing speeds, intercepting Naruto's ball of destruction. It cleanly ran through it as if it was nothing and shot past Naruto's head, only missing it by a few inches. Alright, that's enough of that, said a manly voice from above the battling duo. Why, you two have entertained me for the night. There shouldn't be any meaningless death here. Naruto growled at the fallen angel that interrupted them. The man, who was very tall, had black hair with golden bangs and a black goatee. He was wearing a plain V-neck maroon long coat with 2 black belts around his waist, but the feature that stood out the most was the 12, jet black, wings that certified his dominance over the two. Naruto couldn't feel his magic energy, but he knew who he was just off of those wings, Azazel. Oh. So you've heard of me, said Azazel with a smile. Yes, I am Azazel, leader of Grigori, and that's my apprentice over there that you're trying to kill. Azazel floated over to Naruto, now face to face with the Bael. I'd appreciate it if you would stop. I'd hate to kill you now, Mr. Devil, and create more tension between the 3 factions. I'm here for peace talks, and I don't need things like this stinking everything up. Naruto gritted his teeth as he stared at Azazel, who was looking at him with a small, cocky smirk. He knew he couldn't fight off the leader of the fallen angels. He could barely keep himself up in the sky. After that thought ran across Naruto's mind, his body gave out on him, and he started to plummet down to the ground. He couldn't stop himself as his body was about to crash into the ground because he couldn't move. However, before he hit the ground, Azazel caught Naruto's left leg, saving him from a world of hurt. Seems like he's done, he said as he lightly tossed Naruto to the ground. Naruto hissed in pain as his body landed on the ground harshly, but the pain was nothing like how it would have been if Azazel didn't save him. Azazel walked over to Vala to give him an once-over. Seems like he did a number on you too. But since you're still standing, I think that you won. Or did you lose because I saved you from his last attack? Vala rolled his eyes at the fallen angel leader. I could have dodged that and then counter-attacked. I say that I'm the victor, he said with a grunt. Before they could continue talking, Naruto's coughing interrupted them. Yo, you think you won? Naruto said with a bloody chuckle. He rose his fingers up. I always have a backup plan, he whispered as he snapped his fingers. Pop. Vala switched from looking at Naruto with curiosity to being confused as his body slumped down to the ground. He could feel his arms and legs, but he couldn't move them at all. What's going on? he said in distress. Naruto laughed at Vala. You think you were going to dodge that last attack? Asked the Bael with a weak smile. You still had some of my power of destruction inside of you from absorbing it earlier. I focused the remainder of it to your joints and imploded them, destroying your joints with them. I was going to activate it the moment you tried to fly off to dodge that last attack. You would have died, and I'd be at home by now. His blue eyes then darted to Azazel's surprised face, but we had unwanted company interrupt me. Wow. Said Azazel as he rubbed his chin hair, seems like this guy had everything planned out. You hear that? You lost. Ha! And to think that you were talking heavy when you left. Shut up and help me out. Said Vala through gritted teeth, hating that he thought that he had everything under control, but he was being played the whole time. Sure thing, little guy. Said Azazel as he picked up Vala by the collar of his shirt. He turned back to Naruto and saw that he summoned a wheelchair, but was struggling to get in it. Do you need any help? Shut up. Naruto said, similarly to how Vala just did. I don't like you. He gasped out once he made it into his wheelchair. Azazel cocked an eyebrow up. Why? I never did anything wrong by you. Your face pisses me off. Naruto answered plainly. At least he understands. Vala said with a sigh. Azazel rolled his eyes at the two. Like I care about what you two. However, it doesn't surprise me that you lost to him. One of his peerage members was able to defeat Bael, so it makes sense that you would struggle with him. Naruto looked at Azazel in confusion. What are you talking about? My peerage members never fought against Bael. Oh yeah they did. Said Azazel, I sent this guy over to bring him back to me, but he told me that a girl that we later found out to be a part of some peerage here finished him off. He was damn near death, but we saved him in time. That girl was too strong to be a part of any of the younger devil peerages here, so she has to be with you. He explained. But, why didn't they tell me? Naruto's face scrunched up in rage as he started thinking, what are they planning? Well, the only thing I have left to do here is offer you an invitation. Said Azazel, ignoring the rage that was present on Naruto's face. Invitation? To what? He asked, placing the newly found information in the back of his mind for now. There is a summit between the three factions. There will finally be peace between angels, devils, and fallen angels. Since you are the king of the girl that stopped Bael from killing to prominent devils that could have resurged war, I believe that it's only right that you join in on the peace talks. Azazel explained. Naruto narrowed his eyes as he thought about the invitation. When will it be? In 2 days. I'm sure that would be enough time for you to recover somewhat from today's battle, right? Naruto summoned a magic circle underneath, preparing to leave the two. I'll think about it. He said as he disappeared from the scene. Naruto's peerage house. Kuroka sighed, reached into the fridge for the cartoon of milk. Her worries for her master were increasing by the hour because he hadn't returned home yet. It was midnight and she was planning on going out to find him herself, but she also remembered his words, warning them not to follow him. She was having an internal battle within herself on either should she go out to find him, or just let him be for a while. However, before Kuroka could continue with her battle, her ears perked up once she heard a thud coming from the living room. Yash! Naruto-sama, what happened? Screamed the voice of Lee that put Kuroka on alarm. She dropped the cartoon of milk instantly and ran into the living room to see what happened. Lee, who was waiting up with Kuroka, had a badly injured Naruto in his arms that fell out of his wheelchair once he teleported into the living room. Naruto! She yelled, teleporting by his side and checking his injuries. Can you hear me, Naruto? Please say something. Their blonde, King, was having trouble bleeding because he was coughing up blood rapidly. The commotion that they were causing alerted everyone else in the house, and soon enough Naruto's whole peerage was downstairs by his side. Now what the fuck did he get into now? Shouted Kisame as he looked at his King with worry. I knew we should have followed you. Orochimaru said through gritted teeth as he looked on in anger as Anna started to heal Naruto's injuries with a full-body magic seal that floated over his body and releases a purple light that rained down on his injuries. This will take some time. Anna muttered as she continued to heal his injuries. I need someone else to set up the barrier around the house. I can do that, said Kuroka, but I want to find out who did this to him and kill them now. Yo, you fool, cough. Naruto's voice caught the attention of everyone. Yo, you fought Kokobeel. An, cough. Didn't he tell me? Anna's eyes widened and she almost lost concentration on healing Naruto's injuries. How do you know about that? She said, generally shocked. Naruto didn't answer vocally, only glaring at the blonde devil shaman. Why didn't you tell me? Naruto-sama, we didn't want to disturb your rest. Answered Hao. I've been awake for almost 20 hours now. Why wasn't I informed that there were fucking fallen angels in this town? Naruto yelled with anger. Anna's quick healing was helping him speak better, so they all felt the ferocity in his words. We didn't want to worry you, Naruto-sama, said Orochimaru, we just wanted you to focus on getting better. That's it. You knew. Naruto growled at his peerage members with hatred. You knew that she was here, didn't you? You all knew that she was here. He screamed and they all knew that he was talking about Seraphal. Naruto. Kuroka reached out to her, King, but he slapped her hand away in a fit, breaking Kuroka's heart in the process. So, you all are going to keep secrets to Ha? Just like they did. You're going to turn your backs on me and leave, Ha? Never again. Never again. Naruto was convulsing as he tried to summon his magic to attack, but Snakes halted his movements as they wrapped around his body tightly. Calm down, Naruto-sama. We're not doing anything like that. Shouted Yo as he tried to fix Naruto's misunderstanding. Let me go so I can fucking kill you. Get me out. He continued to trash against his bonds, but he couldn't break free, because he was still weak from his fight with Vala. I need him still so I can heal him. Shouted Anna. Kuroka, jumping to action, made a magic circle in her and held it over Naruto's face. Purple dust flew down and entered his nostrils when inhaled. Naruto instantly felt the effects of Kuroka's sleeping powder, and his eyes were fluttering as if he were trying to stay awake. Fuck. He groaned as he tried to stay awake. But he knew it was inevitable that he would go to sleep soon, so instead of fighting it, he turned to Orochimaru. Yo, find her, find Gabriel, no, W. He stopped convulsing and his eyes fully closed as he fell into a deep sleep. Orochimaru sighed as he recalled his snakes. How did this mess get turned on us? Naruto-sama is very mistrusting. Yo muttered silently, that damn seal, it really did a number on him if he actually wanted to turn on us. He's just not himself. Kuroka said in between her sobs. She was absolutely hurt by how Naruto slapped her hand away, but she felt even more guilty than hurt because she remembered how she left Naruto to go and join Jinta's peerage. He'll be back to normal once he wakes back up. Kisame groaned as he sank into his recliner. Seems like we've got to go find this Gabriel bitch now. Isn't that one of the Seraphs? That means she'll be in town soon for this little get-together the three faction leaders are having, right? I say we go fucking kidnap that bitch and bring her here. We can't kidnap a Seraph. Orochimaru said with no room left for argument. We wouldn't have to anyway, because Naruto and Gabriel are friends from what he's told me. All we need to do is find her, tell her the situation, and then bring her here so that she can hopefully heal him. Orochimaru looked at everyone in the room, specifically Kuroka, because he knew that she had some negative feelings about the Seraph. Does anyone have any problems with that? Yash. No problems whatsoever. Shouted Lee with a salute. Seems like that's our last option. Naruto-sama needs something to boost his spirits. Being fully healed and seeing a long-time friend could help him somewhat. Said Hao, rubbing his chin in thought. Seems we need to start looking in the morning then. Won't find any angels out and about during midnight," said Kisame with a grunt. "I'll wake up at the crack of dawn to start the search." Everyone was agreeing to the plan, talking amongst themselves on where they would search in the coming morning. However, there was one specific person that wasn't participating in the conversation. Kuroka was hugging on Naruto with a weak grip, staring down at his face with sadness. Her cat ears were drooping and her tails weren't moving at all. She was rubbing his face in thought with a troubled look on her face, something everyone noticed once they turned to the Nikomata. "Kuroka," Orochimaru said with a small glare, knowing that the girl was having second thoughts. "Yeah," she said quietly, her eyes still set on Naruto's face. "You know that you'll have to ignore your personal feelings for him so that he can get better, correct?" he asked. "This is for his benefit, and he ordered us to do so. Whatever you're feeling right now will have to wait." Kuroka didn't answer immediately, finding Naruto's sleeping face to be more interesting. However, after some time of thinking she mumbled, "Do we? Isn't there another way?" It was Anna's turn to speak. "There isn't another way. Even if there was, we were given specific instructions to find Gabriel. That's what we're going to do, like it or not." Kuroka hissed at the shaman with ferocity. "That's easy for you to say because you're not in love with him. You have Yo. He's all I have, and we're going to go find the same bitch that's been getting in my way all these years." "All these years?" Kisame said with a laugh. "What are you, 19? 20? You hardly have any years, little girl. I don't care if you are his queen, you're still a little girl that's putting her feelings first before the actual mission. Ha, wouldn't surprise me if you tried some funny shit to stop us from finding this Gabriel girl." "She'd better not," Orochimaru said, his voice having a slight edge to it. "Our priority is finding Gabriel so that she can heal him. That's it. If you have any personal emotions that will hinder you from accomplishing the mission, then I suggest that you stay here while we go out and search." Kuroka hissed again, a bit louder this time. "You all don't understand. She'll replace us. She'll be his main focus while we're just a thought in the back of his mind, once she shows up." She gripped her loose kimono as past memories of a smiling Gabriel and Naruto ran through her mind. "You won't be his priority anymore. I don't care what he cares about the most," answered Orochimaru. "What I care about is following his orders. Now if you can't do that, then stay here with him in the morning while we search for her. Are we understood?" The Snake Man and Cat Girl had an intense staring match. Tension and Ki started to fill the atmosphere around them as Kuroka's anger started to rise. However, she held it all in and snapped her head away from Orochimaru's glare. "Fuck you. Fuck all of you," she shouted as she stood up, holding Naruto's body, and went up the stairs to his bedroom. Orochimaru growled a little as Kuroka left them. "That little girl. She's going to be a problem. She's just letting her feelings get in the way of realizing what's important." "Orochimaru," said Hao, placing a hand on Orochimaru's shoulder. "This will pass over in due time. What we need to do now is find out where Gabriel is." Orochimaru sighed and shook his head a little. "You're right. We head out at the crack of dawn. If I remember correctly, Gabriel has a hobby of looking around any new town that she's in, touring the sights. If we just stick to looking inside the city, or finding any other angel leaders, then we should be close to finding her. YOSH. We'll find Ms. Gabriel in the morning and bring her back to Naruto-sama. Operation Heal Naruto-sama is a go," shouted Lee happily as he ran up to his room to sleep for the remainder of the night, excited that in the morning that he'll meet an actual seraph of heaven. Time skip underworld. Citri Mansion. Sigil Citri, head of the Citri clan, was having a good day. Actually, the day just started, but Sigil woke up happy. For some odd reason, he felt like today would be a good day. The day started off great when he woke up to the most beautiful women in his eyes, Amor Citri, the mother of his children and love of his life. He had a nice bath prepared for him by his servants, set at the right temperature for him to soak any troubles away. His breakfast was excellent as well, and only sharing it with his wife was even better. He didn't have much clan work to do for the day, so he was enjoying the peaceful times with his wife in their garden. Sigil was wearing a simple black tuxedo with a blue shirt underneath his jacket, accompanied by a pair of reading glasses in his jacket pocket. He had smooth black hair that was underneath a small top hat, giving him an old-fashioned look. He was a man of average height, standing at 5 feet 8 inches. He didn't have much muscle, seeing as Citries didn't use physical force to fight, but what he lacked in muscle he had in knowledge. His mind was a library filled with battle strategies, spells, history, everything needed in order to win a battle. He wasn't the head of the Citri clan without reason, after all. Hydrigi. His deep voice revered throughout the garden as he knelt down and plucked one of the millions of Hydrigis surrounding them in a sea of blue, just amazing. He took in a deep breath of air and smiled, "I enjoy this time with you, my dear. I can't remember the last time we've had a day where we could just walk throughout the garden." A soft, melodic laugh came from a beautiful woman from behind him. Her hair cascaded down her back like a river, ending with small curls at the end. She was wearing a long navy blue, V-neck dress that exposed some of her breast with certain parts of the back cut out, followed by a pair of all-white heels that had blue diamonds covering the top half of the shoe. She opened her eyes to reveal shining violet eyes, similar to Sona's own. This was Amor Citri, Sigil Citri's wife and mother of Seraphol Levi then and Sona Citri. It surely has been a while. We could get some good reading down out here as well. Absolutely. He said as he grabbed his wife's hand and led her to a large, white gazebo in the middle of the ocean of Hydrigis. There were a few chairs inside the gazebo, and the couple took the pair that were nearest to each other and sat down quietly. Both summoned a book for themselves and smiled to each other for a good read. They said quietly as they gave each other one final smile before diverging themselves into the printed pages of their massive books. The scene was quiet, but stunning. A wife and husband, enjoying each other by just being near each other. A picture-perfect scene that couldn't be disturbed at all. But we all know how that goes. After a few minutes of quiet, peaceful reading, one of the maids of the Citri mansion approached the two, catching their attention. The maid bowed her head to the two before speaking, "Excuse me, Lord Citri, Lady Citri, but you two have visitors awaiting you." Visitors? Lord Citri's black eyebrow rose with curiosity. "I wasn't expecting anyone today." The maid smiled at her master. "Very familiar visitors, Lord Citri. Your daughters have come to see you." Joy filled both parents' eyes as they looked at each other with a growing smile. Lady Citri was the next to speak. "Well, bring them here. I haven't seen either of my daughters in so long," she said happily. The maid bowed once again before headed back to the mansion to retrieve the parents' greatest accomplishments. The two couldn't even return back to reading their books, because of the anticipation of meeting their daughters after so long. The two parents couldn't go to Satiri's class observation day in the human realm because they had a lot of work dealing with the clan to handle, but they were planning to make a surprise visit soon. However, their daughters pulled a fast one on them and were here to surprise them. It was something they weren't anticipating but were glad nevertheless. "My daughters." Lord Citri stood from his seat as his two daughters, Seraphol and Sona, slowly made their way into the gazebo. He stretched his arms out and offered a hug to the both of them. "Come here, you two. I haven't held my little girls in so long." Both Lord and Lady Citiris were awaiting their daughters to jump into their father's arms, but they noticed the atmosphere surrounding the two, confusing them somewhat. Felita's arms slightly dropped down once he noticed the frown that his eldest daughter had, and the anger that was radiating from Sona. "Is something wrong?" he said with a tone of worry in his voice. "Sit." Now, the two really didn't know what was going on. Their daughter, Sona Citri, just told them to sit down? What was happening? "Sona, what's wrong? Aren't you happy to see us?" asked Lady Citri. She turned to her eldest daughter next, and Seraphol? "What's wrong? Why do you look like that?" Seraphol had to look away from her parents, almost like she was ashamed of the sight of them. Just sit down for now. Mother, father. The two parents looked at each in confusion before slowly nodding. The family took their seats, with the daughters sitting opposite to the parents. Lady Citri gulped as she felt uncomfortable as the tension of the atmosphere was starting to get to her. She was worried for both of her daughters because they never acted like this. Seraphol was always had her bubbly attitude, dotting on Sona any chance she could get, while Sona was always strict and trying to push her older sister away from her. It was their conflicting personalities that separated the two, but she loved that about her daughters because she knew that they loved each anyway. So, start off the conversation. Lady Citri took in a deep breath before speaking. So what is going on between you two? You two didn't get into a bad fight, right? I need to ask you two a question. Sona said with all seriousness in her voice. While she did have a mean glare on her face, the two Citri parents could tell there was more anger behind that glare. I want a solid answer and nothing that would sway the direction of the conversation. All right. That's acceptable, said Lord Citri with a nod, but he didn't like where this conversation was headed in. Sona sighed before continuing, I want to know the honest truth, no lies. She looked up at her two parents with a glare that almost made them flinch. Who is Naruto Bael to you? Both Lord and Lady Citri's jaws slowly dropped as they looked at the youngest in disbelief. Did she say that name? That name that was long forgotten in the back of their minds. Lord Citri's turned to Seraphol, but the Leviathan avoided making eye contact with her father, finding the floor more interesting at the moment. His heart felt like a belt wrapped around it, and was constricting it tightly as he tried to digest the words that his daughter uttered from her mouth. You do know him, Sona said with a growl as she analyzed her parents' shocked faces. You had something to do with his sealing, didn't you? Wait, said Lady Citri in panic. How do you even know of him? Lady Citri then turned to Seraphol. Did you tell her? She didn't tell me anything, answered Sona, countering her mother's accusation. I'm just adding all the pieces together. Sigil stood from out of his seat in an outrage. How do you know his name then, young lady? You are to tell me and your mother this instant. Because he's alive, Sona said, surprising the two devils even more. He's alive, and I've talked to him plenty of times, and I think I've figured something's out. Sigil gritted his teeth, slowly sitting back down in his chair. He sighed as he took off his top hat and placed it on a nearby table. He's alive. He mumbled to himself, he's actually alive. Tell me everything now, demanded Sona. I've had my speculations about what's been going on, and I wanted answers. Lord Citri sighed as he straightened himself out on his seat. All right, since there is no more hiding this any longer, I'll tell you everything, but before I do that, tell me how you know him, he said without room for debate. Gladly, answered Sona confidently. While I haven't known him for long, I've known his peerage members for a few months. She began. They came to Koa not too long ago. One of Naruto-sama's peerage members is actually my chemistry teacher, but anyway, they settled in Koa with a secret purpose. They refrained from telling Rias and I their true intentions, but what their grand plan was to revive Naruto-sama from his seal. They needed the blood of the clans that sealed him, Bael, Citri, and Gremory, in order to free him. They got Bael blood by defeating Sarorg in a raiding game, and received my blood, along with Rias, as an award for freeing Rias out of her marriage contract with Riser by defeating him. You mean the king, less peerage? Asked Lady Citri with curiosity. That's his peerage? It is. He's been ordering them from his seal for a long time now. They got all the necessary blood, retrieved Naruto-sama's seal, and freed him. She explained. He's been out for a few weeks now, keeping a low profile. Lord Citri groaned as he placed both of his hands on the sides of his head. This cannot be happening right now. He's really free. He looked over to his oldest daughter to see her guilt-ridden face. And I'm sure you had something to do with this as well. I didn't, she answered hesitantly. I just found out that he was still alive yesterday. I meet him and he's changed. He's going to come for us, Lady Citri said with worried eyes. He's going to come back for us. I know it. He probably wants us dead for what we did to him. And that's why I'm here. Sona said as she laced her fingers together and rested her chin on top of them. Now that I know that you helped in his sealing, all I want to know is why you did it. Was there a reasonable cause? Did he do something illegal and that was his punishment? I want to know everything and don't even think about lying. She yelled with anger. I can go back to him at any time and ask him these same questions, and I know for sure he'll tell me everything. So, tell me now. Why did you do it? The elder Citries were quiet for some time, processing their current predicament with their youngest daughter. It wasn't something they were expecting from her when she came with her older sister, and it wasn't a conversation that they hoped would never happen. Sigil sighed from within his chair as he answered his daughter's question. So you don't know of it all, Sai, and it seems that you've talked to him quite a few times if you're calling him Naruto-sama. He's a war hero that should be respected. Sona said, now talk. Lord Citri groaned again before continuing, Naruto, he was special. He wasn't supposed to be as strong as he was because he was born a low-class devil with insignificant parents. Somehow, he hid the fact that he had the power of destruction for most of his young life, and enlisted into the army when he was of age. It just happened that he was a part of the legion that your sister, Seraphol, was also in. You're not telling me anything new. She said with a growl. It's all important, which is why I'm telling you. He answered with a little anger in his voice. Anyway, Naruto was rising in the ranks because of his formidable strength that was paving a way to each of Legion 56. Seraphol was making her own advances in the war, and soon enough, Seraphol was the leader of Legion 56, and Naruto was her right-hand man. The sound of sniffling was heard coming from Seraphol. The Leviathan covered her face with her hands as she tried to hold in her sadness, but it wasn't working as she silently cried to herself. Damn it, damn it, damn it, damn it. She mumbled to herself. Lord Citri ignored his crying daughter and continued on with his story. What you may not know is that Naruto and Seraphol, they were in a relationship. Sona's head jerked up at hearing her father's words and instantly turned to Seraphol. Said girl was quietly crying into her palms, hiding her face from her sister. You two were in a relationship. He didn't tell you that, did he? Asked Lady Citri. No, he only told me that he was good friends with my sister, and that they fought together in the war, but this. Sona stood from her seat and paced around. This is crazy. Now I'm not only mad at them, but I'm also mad at you. She yelled while pointing her finger at her crying sister. Why in the hell would agree to sealing Naruto-sama? You two were lovers and you threw him away. For what? Explain yourself now. Sona. Don't be so mean to your sister. Said Lady Stiri. You think this is mean? Sona turned to her stunned mother. What's mean is sealing someone away for? I don't even know why you sealed him up, but I bet you with everything in my body as was for some stupid, selfish reason, right? Even as Citries fall to our devilish instincts of selfishness. So please tell me why you decided sealing him was the correct way to go about things? Sigil chuckled. You're going to hate us even more after hearing this. We sealed him because we didn't approve of their relationship. While Naruto was a strong devil, he wasn't fit to be with Seraphol, a contender for one of the spots of the Four Mao. Because he was a low-class devil, right? Said Sona with a small smile, but it wasn't because she was happened. She shook her head in disappointment at her parents. Disgraceful. This is really how you two made decision? What happened to all of those talks of treating all devils fairly, huh? You didn't approve a relationship that didn't have anything to do with you because Seraphol was going to be promoted Leviathan anyway, which means she wouldn't be attached to the Citri clan anymore. Correct, but if she were to hold such a high position, we wanted her to be with someone of more prestige. Lady Citri knew that it sounded wrong, but there wasn't any better way of explaining what happened to Naruto. Naruto was a good soldier, but we didn't want him to be anything more than that. He was strong, so strong that it actually scared the higher-ups of the Bael clan, who also supported the idea of getting rid of him. Sona then turned back to her sister. And you let all of this happen? You let them seal a man that you loved? Seraph's crying had quieted over time, but she still had her face covered with both of her hands. She couldn't look her sister in the eye because she was scared to face the anger that was bound to be present. She didn't want to see something like that, her dear sister whom she loved more than anything in the world, glaring at her like she was an enemy. Nevertheless, Seraph spoke, I choose my clan over my love for him. I was primed since birth to love my clan more than anything. I wasn't given a choice in the matter. Sona, in a fit of rage, walked out of the gazebo, and down the pavement the lead back to the mansion. Lady and Lord Citri quickly followed their daughter in order to explain themselves, but Seraph didn't move, deciding to stay in her crouched position in her chair. Wait, Sona. Please, just listen to us, shouted Lord Citri as he caught up to his daughter. I've listened enough, she said plainly as she continued to walk, not even turning around to face her parents. You two are liars. Manipulators, I can't believe that you two were the same people that raised me to believe that devils, no matter their social class, were all the same, hypocrites of your own ideology. Sona, listen. Lady Citri grabbed Sona's shoulder, halting her. We know that this is hard for you to take in. Now that I look back to that day, I hate that I approved of sealing him, but you have to understand the predicament that we were in. We had to continue to hold our social standing amongst the other clans, and Seraph being in a relationship with Naruto was hindering that. That's how it works, and it was a sacrifice that even you benefited from. Oh, by living in a huge mansion, so big that I haven't been in half of the rooms in there in my whole life, snapped the girl as she turned back to her parents. I have benefited from that decision by living a lavish life, but this is the way to get to that position? By sacrificing the life of those that actually cared about you. Naruto-sama probably loved Seraph, but you all ruined it. She allowed it to be ruined. I can't stay around people who preach one thing and do another. Sona, my daughter, I've come to regret that decision to seal up Naruto so long ago. I wasn't thinking clear and succumbed to pleasing those in a higher position than me to keep a good image among the other clans. Naruto is a wonderful person, but at the time, it just seemed like the reasonable thing to do. Lord Citri tried to explain to his daughter, but it only fueled to the anger that Sona was feeling. So, who was it then? She asked, who was it that you were trying to please? Lord Bael. He answered, the great king. Basically, the ruler of the underworld. Lord Bael didn't like how strong Naruto was or his relationship with Seraph. He thought Naruto wasn't worthy for Seraph's hand, and at the time I agreed. Since our desires were similar, we teamed up to get rid of Naruto Bael. But why seal him? Asked Sona, why not kill him? Sealing him, even if he was in an incredibly strong seal, is still risky, because there's always the chance of that person of escaping. Lady Citri stepped up, we don't know. We were given specific instructions by Lord Bael to seal him and not to kill him. His intentions have remained hidden to this day. Sona gritted her teeth in anger at her parents. I just don't understand. Why does it matter what other people think? Naruto-sama was a war hero, but you still couldn't recognize him as a man worthy enough for Seraph? Do you want her to be married to one of those women-beating heirs to some other clan like how you tried to do to me numerous of times? Lady Citri gasped, Sona. We would never give your hand away to some like that. But you don't trust me enough to find my own partner in life? She asked angrily, you two have done all this work in order to make my life perfect, right? It doesn't matter who I want to marry, but who you all choose for me to marry to keep our prestige image. I know that it sounds bad, said Lord Citri, but that's just how the world works, dear. We can't change it, so we adapt to it. If I could change it, I would, I promise you. Liar. Sona countered, surprising her father, you had a chance to change the system by accepting Naruto-sama to be with my sister, but you didn't do that. I don't believe any of those words you just said. You could have changed how this biased system works, but you were just too scared to do so. Lord Citri looked away from his daughter in shame, knowing that her words were true, maybe, but sealing Naruto up, even though I regret it, we've benefited from it. Our relations with other clans are all positive because they see that we have close ties to Lord Bael, and it only helps that one of my daughters is the Leviathan. It was an unfair sacrifice, but a sacrifice needed nevertheless. I can't believe you. Sona said in disgust, I can't believe any of you. You actually believe that mess that you're spitting? We have to, my daughter. Lady Citri muttered, it's just how things are. Sona turned her back on her parents and summoned a magic circle beneath her. If that's the case, you two must really hate the fact that my dream is to open up a rating game school for all devils no matter their social class. I will be breaking the tradition of keeping the classes separate, so does that make you uncomfortable? Do you hate me for that? We would never hate any of our children, Sona. You know this. Lord Citri answered. Sona. The voice of Seraphol interrupted their conversation. Seraphol had made her way out of the gazebo, and down the pathway where the three were having their current argument. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have done it. I should have protected him like he did me during the war. Lord Citri's eyes narrowed at his daughter, Seraphol. I tried to explain myself to him, but he doesn't want to hear it. He's different, he's changed. I can't help him anymore because he doesn't trust me. And he has all the right to do so, just watch over him for me please. She said with tears forming in her eyes again. Sona stared at her sister for a while and thought before nodding her head at her. Seraphol gave her sister a weak smile and waved at her. Sona turned back around and activated her teleportation seal. Good day, she said as she disappeared. She had school to go to anyway. Same time, Koomal. Damn it, muttered Kisame as he walked through a crowd of people. He was by himself because he heard a tip about a woman that was in the area that seemed to fit the criteria of an angel to the standards of Gabriel. According to the man that Kisame asked, the woman he saw was the most beautiful person in the world that had hurt his sinful eyes just looking at her. It was the first tip he had for the day since he started searching for the Archangel, and he hoped that this was a solid lead so he could get this search over with. All these damn stores with ugly clothes, who the fuck would buy any of this bullshit? He shouted, garnering a lot of attention while doing so. What the hell y'all looking at? Get on somewhere, he said with a wave of his hands. Such indecency, said a man in a business suit as he pasted by Kisame. Kisame quickly turned around and followed the stranger. What was that? I didn't quite hear you, mister. I can tell anybody what I want without getting my ass whopped because if you think you want to disrespect me, the great Kisame, you've got another thing coming. All I'm saying is that you're being too loud, which is a distraction of the people here, shouted the man. Oh. So, you get yell, but I can't get to yell? Is it because I'm blue? Ha. Is that it? Well, I got something for you, you piece of sure. Gentlemen, a soft, angelic voice said coming from behind the two. Kisame and the man turned towards the owner of the voice to see who interrupted them. However, the stranger grew hearts in his eyes once he saw the goddess of a woman in front of him. Oh my, such beauty, the man muttered as he took in the sight of the gorgeous blonde. You two shouldn't fight your problems out, but talk them out to avoid conflict, she said with the purest of smiles that melted hearts. That way, the world can be a better place, and we all can get along, she said happily. Wait a second. Kisame looked around him to see that he was surrounded by males of all ages with hearts in their eyes. What's going on here? She's perfect. Amazing. I'd leave my wife and 3 kids for her. I'd give her ownership of my car just so I can hold her hand. I can die happy now that I've seen her with my own eyes. I want to know her name. What's her name? Give us your name. Please, I need to know. What's you? Get the fuck off of me. All of the men were snapped out of their trance, and their love was replaced by fear as a death-like feeling filled the atmosphere. Kisame was radiating his ki at all of the men that were getting too close to him, and it was getting on his last nerve. I don't care what the hell you want with her. I was here first, so get the hell out of her before I turn your teeth upside down, you dickheads. Please sir, the mystery goddess said while placing a hand on Kisame's shoulder. Instantly, all of Kisame's ki vanished and was replaced with a feeling of content and softness as she spoke, saying such vile words isn't good for the soul. We should replace those words with nicer words if we want to make the world a better place. She gave an innocent eye smile that shot love-filled arrows into the hearts of all of the surrounding men. Doesn't that sound nice? Oh, she's an angel. They all muttered as they fainted at her beauty. Oh my, said the lady, placing a hand over her mouth as she watches them all faint for some unknown reason. I hope they're all right. Maybe I should bless them. Not today, you're not, said Kisame as he grabbed the unknown girl's hand and led her away from the scene. Got me doing all this bullshit. Bullshit. Fuck you, you blonde-haired devil. Kisame muttered under his breath, referring to Naruto. After they were a good distance away from where they once were, Kisame stopped and got to take a good look at the woman in front of him. Her blonde, curly hair was one of the things that stood out the most to Kisame as it was radiant with light. She seemed to be in her mid-20s with piercing blue eyes that was almost hard to look at. She was wearing a luxurious robe that covered all her body, but her beauty was evident as everyone would turn in her direction whenever they would pass by. Alright, so she has to be Gabriel, but just to make sure. Kisame coughed to get the woman's attention. Hey, I didn't mean to, pull you through the crowd like that. I just needed to talk to you. Do you need help with anything? I could pray for you? She asked with a head tilt that made her look even more innocent. No prayer is needed, Kisame said, causing the woman to pout childishly. I just make sure, you are Gabriel the Seraph, right? You know who I am? She asked with curiosity. Well, who are you? I'm a friend of one of your friends, he said awkwardly. What does that mean? She asked with interest. Do you remember your friend Naruto? 'Cause he Naruto. Gabriel's bright eyes grew even brighter as her happiness increased. I haven't heard of him in so long. I was busy and had to leave him, and the little girl that was with him. I've forgotten his name, can you jog my memory for me? She asked. You mean that bit I mean, Kuroka, ugh. Kisame wheezed out Kuroka's name like it was poison. I really hate that girl. Yes, it's Kuroka. I haven't seen her in a while too. Oh, can you take me to them, mister? I really want to see them again, she asked with the same energy. Yes, I can. Alright, that was easier than I expect. And I get to rub in everyone's face that I was the one to find her. Kisame thought with a dark chuckle. Oh, but wait. I should bring gifts. Gabriel said happily. I need to find something for the both of them to enjoy, so that they can accept my apology of being gone for so long. Will you help me, mister? Excuse me, I don't want to sound rude, but what is your name? Kisame. Just Kisame. He answered. Now what are trying to buy them? And I'm not helping either since you know them so well. Kisame said with a huff. I know what to buy for the both of them, she said with a smile that radiated a painfully strong light of innocence at Kisame. I need to go to the supermarket. Not the fucking supermarket, groaned Kisame. What's wrong with the supermarket? She asked him. Kisame sighed. The supermarket is full of stupid people with no common sense, especially the old ladies. He growled. Well, I'll be there to help you deal with those people, she said with a smile as she grabbed Kisame's hand. Let's go, Kisame. Hey, wait a goddamn min-dash. Gabriel stopped and turned back towards Kisame with a glare that reeked of death. Kisame actually shivered as Gabriel's once happy eyes were now cold, similar to how Naruto's would change with his personality. What did you say? She asked with a low voice. I said, look what my mom made me. Oh. Instantly, the sense of death vanished and was replaced with the atmosphere of a happy Gabriel. And what did she make you? Damn it, Kisame. Think. He screamed in his mind before an idea popped up. He reached back and grabbed his same hate. Well, you see this guy right here? There's more to him than what people suspect. Naruto's peerage house. Kuroka's cat ears twitched once she heard Naruto deeply inhale in his sleep. She was the only one at the house currently. Everyone else went out to go find Gabriel with hope that she could help fully heal Naruto. She understood why they were doing it, but she didn't like the fact that it had to be Gabriel to be the one to come and heal Naruto. She was sure that there were other ways to heal Naruto, but the three factions made it convenient to find Gabriel since she was somewhere nearby. Kuroka sighed as she stared at Naruto's sleeping face. You've been through a lot, Naya. I just wish that you would open up more and stop acting like you're okay. She closed her eyes and meditated for a while. Pulling senjutsu from the atmosphere around her, Kuroka's keen sensory abilities expanded, allowing her to feel out the area around them. She sensed some of Orochimaru's snakes outside in the grass watching over the house, but other than that, there was nothing of significance that caught her attention. However, Kuroka sighed as she opened her eyes. Why are you fake sleeping? She said out loud. The sound of Naruto chuckling weakly filled the room as the Bael opened his eyes. He smiled at Kuroka and waved, but she didn't return it, choosing to glare at him rather than wave back. You look mad, he said with another chuckle. Because you're worrying me. She answered honestly, what you did before you fell asleep. You're really worrying me, Naruto, and it's scaring me, Naya. Oh that? He said with a raised eyebrow. I was just tired and was spitting bullshit, he. Nothing to worry about. Kuroka narrowed her eyes again at him. You're lying, I can tell that you're lying, Naruto. Naruto's grin slowly faded away, feeling the vibe of seriousness that Kuroka had. He sighed and turned on his side to face Kuroka. We're really about to have this conversation now? I feel like if we don't have it that it'll keep torture you mentally. She answered, you really don't trust your peerage members as much as you say you do, or did that seal really mess with your mind to where you can't trust anyone at all? Naruto shook his head while replying, listen, my protege, I've been through a lot. That seal did a lot of things to me that I wished I could have avoided, but I had to fight through and deal the side effects of that fucked up box. The girl that meant the most to me betrayed me, and I had over 500 years to sit and think about that. I'm surprised that I was still mentally sane enough to come up with a plan to get out of there. I know that, Kuroka said sadly, but when I see you have a panic attack, and you scream that you're going to kill us, to kill me. Could you really do that? Naruto stared at Kuroka plainly, like he wasn't interested in their conversation that they were having, but she knew better. She knew that he was just putting up his usual front like everything was okay. It was a selfless act so that others wouldn't worry about him, thinking that he was okay already, but it was also a selfish act so that no one would suspect that he was planning against them. Naruto continued his starring contest with his queen, before sighing and rolling over to his other side, exposing his back to Kuroka. I don't know if that's a good answer or a bad one, always so cryptic, Naya. You're like a puzzle. Can you get me one of those? He asked her, surprising her at the request. I need to start training again. You train with a puzzle? Said Kuroka, highly confused. Yup. He said, turning back towards Kuroka a smiling face. I'll explain it later, but I need me a puzzle thingy. Over 200 pieces please? Kuroka was looking down at her, king, like he needed professional help, and he kinda does need it, like, now Naya. Yes now. I need it now. That fight with that kid really showed me that I need start training again even if I'm not fully healed yet, but hopefully that'll change soon. He said with his smile growing even bigger. Kuroka sighed at being reminded that Gabriel could possibly be back. Do we really need to find her, Naya? She's so annoying, she said, finishing with a growl. Yes, we need to bring her here because I trust her when it comes to things like this. Also, I want to bring her here because I haven't heard her in so long. I love her personality. Kuroka growled again and stood up from her seat in anger. Well, good for you that she's coming here then, Naya. I'm leaving, she said as she summoned a magic circle underneath her feet. Make sure to get that puzzle set, Naruto said with an eye smile and a wave. Ugh. Forget you, Naya, she shouted as disappeared in anger. After she left, Naruto's eye smile disappeared. He had a plain look in his eyes as he curled back up into his sheets. Sigh. I don't know, but I feel like I would, he said as he closed his eyes to re-enter his slumber. 30 minutes later. Stupid Naruto, Naya, and his freaking stupid puzzle pieces, growled out Kuroka as she stomped her way back to the house. She had bought Naruto his puzzle sets, 3 of them actually, as well as a couple of cookies for her to munch on for later. She was still pissed off at their previous conversation, but she set that at the back of her mind now and focused on setting him back a course on the pathway of healing. She approached the front door to open it, but stopped once she noticed everyone's signal within the house, meaning that they must have come back from their search for Gabriel. Naya. I don't sense her, she mumbled to herself. She hoped for the best as she entered the house and walked up the stairs. She heard voices coming from within Naruto's room, which was on the other side of the hallway. Her heartbeat started to increase as she slowly walked down the hallway, praying that Gabriel wasn't behind that door to whatever deity that would listen. She made it to the door and took a deep breath before resting her hand on the knob. It's all right, girl, she probably isn't here, she mumbled as she opened the door. Kuroka opened the door to see that everyone was back from their search for Gabriel. Naruto's peerage members were sitting in the chairs that surrounded Naruto's bed. In his bed was Naruto, next to another girl, a blonde-haired girl, and they were hugging. Kuroka dropped her bags along with her mouth as they both hit the floor at the same time. Gabriel, hearing the sound, looked up towards the door. Her eyes lit up with happiness once she saw the cat girl and slowly released herself. Naruto. Kuroka, she said with a large smile that brightened up the room, it's so good to see you. My goodness, you've grown since the last time I saw you. Kuroka's cat ears twitched in annoyance as she slowly regained herself from her shock. Hi, she muttered, still in a little disbelief. Yup. Kuroka has grown, Gabriel. I made sure to make her as strong as possible. You'll be impressed by her strength once she shows it during a rating game, Naruto said with a smile that matched Gabriel's own. That's great, she said as she got out of the bed and walked over to Kuroka. Kuroka's small stature of 5 feet and 3 inches made her look small and fragile compared to Gabriel's 5'9" stature. The seraph hugged Kuroka gently, but Kuroka kept her hands to her sides, not enjoying the hug in the slightest. I'm so proud of you, Kuroka. You're growing up into an amazing woman, and I'm sure you'll help Naruto out in the future. All of Naruto's peerage members' sweat dropped as they noticed that Kuroka's devious face, as if she was contemplating on striking Gabriel while her guard was down. I guess she really hates her, huh? Yo muttered to Lee. Lee nodded, I guess so, but I don't know why. Ms. Gabriel is so nice. After a long hug that was like torture to Kuroka, Gabriel pulled back. Kuroka, since I've returned, I really want to give you a present. Would you like that? Kuroka narrowed her eyes at the surf, slightly interested at Gabriel's words. What present? A few seconds later, a slightly less angry Kuroka was drinking a bottle of warm milk that tasted divine. Gabriel had bought a few bottles for Kuroka because she knew that the girl enjoyed her milk, and she bought Naruto a pickle jar since she remembered that Naruto never had any pickles before. Kuroka was alright with that, but she was still watching the seraph closely, making sure that she didn't make any moves on her Naruto. Kuroka was seated in a chair next to Naruto's side of the bed, while Gabriel returned to Naruto's left in the bed, which highly pissed off the Nakomata. Nevertheless, she held her tongue and drank some of her delicious milk. So, as I was saying, said Naruto, continuing his story that was interrupted when Kuroka entered his room, I'm really injured right now, and I need your help, Gabriel. Would it be possible if you have something that could heal me quickly? Gabriel hummed and thought with a finger next to her mouth. Well, I think I do have something that can help. I wish you would have told me this sooner, Naru. I would ha. Naru. Shouted Kuroka, jumping out of the seat in rage. Who the fuck is Naru Nya? Naruto raised an eyebrow at Kuroka, not understanding her rage. That's what she calls me sometimes, my protege? Don't you remember? Yeah, don't you remember, little girl? Asked Kisame with a large smirk. He was enjoying Kuroka's anger at the fact that Gabriel was so close to their master, and was going to fully exploit it later with a few jokes. Kuroka gave Kisame the deadliest glare she could muster before sitting back down. I remember. I just forgot for a few seconds. I'm sorry, I didn't want to offend. Said Gabriel with worry. I'm so sorry, Naruto. I won't call you Naru anymore. It's alright, Gabriel. You can call me Naru if you want. He said with a comforting hand on her shoulder. Really? She looked up to him with her innocent, ocean blue eyes with tears at the edges of them. Of course, Gabriel. That's one thing that I like about you. You're so nice and show real concern about others. He said with a charming smile, it'd be an honor if you call me Naru. Oh Naru. She said as hugged his chest. Gabriel. Naru. Gabriel. Naru. Get off my man. Eh? My protege, did you say something? Said Naruto as he looked back at his queen. The deadly atmosphere around Kuroka quickly shifted as she tried to cover up her words. No, Naya. I didn't say that. She said frantically, I said can you turn on the fan? I was speaking to Orochimaru over there. She said while pointing to the snake man, who was sipping on some coffee while reading his newspaper. Said man looked up from his reading after he heard his name. He said, not even focusing on the topic at hand. Naruto is hot, can't you tell? Aren't you supposed to be his advisor, Naya? Turn on the fan. She demanded. I am a little hot. Mumbled Naruto while scratching his head. See? Shouted Kuroka aggressively, turn on the fan. Orochimaru rolled his eyes and flipped the switch for the ceiling fan to come on. Much better. Said Naruto as he laid back into his bed with air blowing down on his face. So, Naru, you said you want me to heal you because I can. However, the method I'll use is quite personal. Gabriel said with a little blush of embarrassment. Kuroka's cat ears perked up at that as she listened. Wonder what that means. She said internally as she continues to sip from her milk. What is it, Gabriel? If you need me to help you, I can. Said Naruto. Well, in order for me to fully heal your body, I'd have to kiss you. Kuroka spit out all of her 2% milk. That's it for this reading. Hit like and subscribe for a free ticket pass going to the different worlds of anime fanfictions. Looking forward to having you on board again.